pissed off by so many calls. Oh, you should not put people to death.
Don't don't
March 11th, 2025. A day that will go down in history for the Philippines. A day that marked the fall of a leader once hailed as a savior by some, and condemned as a criminal by others. On this day, Rodrigo Roa Duterte, the former president of the Philippines, was arrested at Manila's Ninoy Aquino International Airport under an international warrant issued by the International Criminal Court, or ICC. The arrest came as a shock to many, but to others, it was inevitable. For years, human rights groups, legal experts, and international organizations had called for Duterte to be held accountable for the thousands of lives lost under his brutal war on drugs. Now, that moment had arrived. Despite the gravity of the charges against him, crimes against humanity, mass extrajudicial killings, and systematic abuse of power, Duterte remained characteristically unshaken. "I will face my accusers," he reportedly told officers as he was led away. But the question remains, how did the once powerful leader of the Philippines end up in handcuffs, bound for the Hague? To understand Rodrigo Duterte's rise and eventual fall, we must first examine his origins. Born on March 28, 1945 in Masin, southern Leyte, Duterte came from a politically connected family. His father, Vicente Duterte, was a provincial governor, while his mother, Soledad Roa Duterte, was a teacher and a political activist. Duterte's formative years were spent in Davao City, a region plagued by crime, political instability, and communist insurgency. It was here that he shaped his tough-on-crime persona, one that would later define his political career. After studying political science at Lyceum of the Philippines University and earning a law degree from San Beda College, Duterte became a prosecutor in Davao City. He built a reputation as a relentless enforcer of the law, though even then, whispers of his ruthless tactics had begun to surface. Duterte's rise to power began when he was elected mayor of Davao City in 1988. Over the next 2 decades, he turned the city from a crime-ridden hotspot into one of the so-called safest cities in the Philippines. But at what cost? Duterte's iron-fisted approach involved more than just strengthening law enforcement. His tenure saw the rise of the notorious Davao Death Squad, a vigilante group accused of executing suspected criminals, drug dealers, and even petty thieves. Human rights organizations documented hundreds of killings linked to this shadowy organization, but Duterte neither confirmed nor denied his involvement. Duterte's public persona was as controversial as his methods. He spoke bluntly, cursed freely, and made inflammatory remarks that shocked many, but endeared him to those who saw him as a fearless leader unafraid to speak his mind. By 2016, the Philippines was at a crossroads. Frustration over crime, corruption, and ineffective governance had reached a boiling point. Enter Rodrigo Duterte, a provincial mayor with a radical promise: eradicate drugs and crime within 6 months or resign. His campaign was unconventional, filled with off-the-cuff remarks, populist rhetoric, and even controversial statements about killing criminals. The political elite dismissed him, but ordinary Filipinos saw a man who understood their fears. On May 9, 2016, Duterte won the presidency in a landslide victory. On June 30, 2016, Rodrigo Duterte was sworn in as the 16th president of the Philippines. And from day one, he made it clear his war on drugs would begin immediately. Duterte's war on drugs was brutal, swift, and relentless. Police were given free rein to carry out anti-drug operations, and soon reports of extrajudicial killings became a near-daily occurrence. The official government tally placed the number of drug-related deaths at around 6,000. However, human rights organizations estimated the real figure to be between 20,000 and 30,000, many of them urban poor. executed without trial. Despite the mounting death toll, Duterte remained unapologetic. "If you fight back, I will kill you," he declared. "My only sin is the extrajudicial killings." Statements like these alarmed the international community, but inside the Philippines, Duterte's supporters continued to hail him as a hero. As the death toll climbed, the world took notice. The United Nations, the European Union, Amnesty International, and Human Rights Watch all denounced Duterte's actions. But the most significant move came in 2018, when the International Criminal Court, or ICC, announced it was opening a preliminary examination into Duterte's alleged crimes against humanity. Duterte reacted as expected, with defiance. He lashed out at the ICC, calling it a useless institution and an attempt by the West to interfere with Philippine affairs. In a dramatic move, he announced the Philippines' withdrawal from the ICC in 2019, claiming it had no jurisdiction over him or his government. However, legal experts pointed out that the ICC still had jurisdiction over crimes committed before the withdrawal. The court pressed forward with its investigation, gathering testimonies from families of victims, former police officers, and human rights organizations. One former officer, speaking under anonymity, admitted that he and his colleagues had received direct orders to kill suspected drug users. No questions asked. "If we didn't follow, we'd become the next target," he revealed. This chilling testimony became crucial evidence in the ICC's case against Duterte. Behind every statistic, there was a life lost, a family shattered. Mothers woke up to find their sons executed in alleyways. Fathers came home to see their teenage daughters lying lifeless on the pavement, caught in the crossfire. Maria Lopez, a mother from Manila's Tondo district, lost her 17-year-old son, Angelo, in 2017. He was shot by masked men in broad daylight, accused of being a drug runner. But Maria insists her son had never touched drugs. "He was just a student," she sobs. "They shot him like an animal." International human rights organizations repeatedly pointed out the disproportionate impact of the drug war on the country's poorest communities. While small-time users were executed in the streets, powerful drug lords and corrupt officials remained untouched. Families of the victims began to fight back, filing cases against police officers, joining protests, and speaking out against Duterte's war on drugs. For years, their cries for justice were ignored. But now, with Duterte under arrest, they may finally get their day in court. Despite mounting criticism, Duterte retained a strong base of supporters. His administration doubled down, dismissing the ICC investigation as a political witch hunt orchestrated by foreign powers. Many of his allies in the Senate and Congress defended him, arguing that the war on drugs was necessary to save the country from becoming a narco-state. Duterte's crackdown didn't stop at drug suspects. Journalists, opposition politicians, and activists who spoke out against his administration found themselves in danger. Some were arrested, others received death threats, and a few, like journalist Maria Ressa, became international symbols of resistance. The Philippines became one of the deadliest places in the world for journalists, as press freedom deteriorated under Duterte's rule. But despite the repression, the push for justice continued. By 2024, the ICC had gathered enough evidence to issue a formal arrest warrant against Duterte. The warrant, issued in secrecy, charged him with crimes against humanity, citing thousands of extrajudicial killings under his administration. But executing the warrant was another challenge altogether. For months, the Philippine government refused to acknowledge the ICC's warrant, but behind the scenes, negotiations were underway. With Duterte out of office, his political influence had weakened. Under pressure from international allies, the Philippine authorities quietly cooperated with the ICC to bring him to justice. The opportunity came when Duterte was returning from a private trip to Singapore. As his plane landed in Manila, law enforcement officers swiftly moved in. Duterte was arrested without warning, leaving his supporters stunned. Within hours, Duterte was escorted to a secure facility, awaiting extradition to The Hague. It was a dramatic end to a man who once held the highest office in the land. On March 15, 2025, Rodrigo Duterte arrived in The Hague under heavy security. His trial is set to be one of the most significant cases in modern history, a former head of state facing international justice for crimes committed while in power. Reactions to Duterte's arrest were mixed. His supporters protested, calling him a victim of Western imperialism. His critics, on the other hand, celebrated the arrest as a long overdue reckoning for the thousands who had suffered under his rule. Legal experts say Duterte could face life imprisonment if convicted. The prosecution has an overwhelming amount of evidence: survivor testimonies, police whistleblowers, and documented orders linking Duterte directly to extrajudicial killings. Meanwhile, the Philippine government faces a dilemma. Should it support Duterte and risk international backlash, or cooperate with the ICC and set a precedent for accountability? The country's political future hangs in the balance. Rodrigo Duterte's trial is more than just a case against one man. It is a test of international law, human rights, and the accountability of world leaders. Will justice be served, or will Duterte find a way to escape the consequences of his actions? One thing is certain: the war on drugs has left deep scars on the Philippines. And this trial will determine how history remembers Rodrigo Duterte, whether as a leader who protected his nation, or as a tyrant who brought suffering to thousands. Thank you for watching this video. You're watching Creepy Crime, and I will see you soon with the next case.